Hello everybody and welcome back to Realmcraft. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different, as you can probably tell, being that we're in a creative world. If you remember last year, I did a bit of a Christmas video where I built a small Christmas cabin. And I want to do something similar for Christmas this year, however on a bit of a bigger scale. So, today I kind of want to build sort of a Christmas-themed town center or town square of sorts, which is going to involve, the buildings around the outside, lots of snow, maybe a little ice, and probably a giant Christmas tree in the middle. And if we want to get that all done, I should probably just get to work and stop talking. So I will let future me take over and explain exactly what I got up to. So, to get this build started, I needed a path to know where to put the buildings and to figure out the scale. I thought a red block palette would work, so I decided on bricks, granite, and jungle wood. I thought the path would be great over in this sort of empty space that we have over here. After deciding on a block palette, it was time to mine out the area where the path was going to go. I started by mining out a big rectangular shape, and then went around again after to make it larger, being about 4 blocks wide in total. Next, I went to work out the pattern for the path, creating a gradient, going from stripped jungle wood to jungle planks, then granite, polished granite, and bricks. I continued this all the way around the now somewhat oval shape, and luckily the pattern matched up almost perfectly. After finishing the path, I was really excited to do some building, so I immediately began to work on the first building. This was the simplest of the builds I created during this project, but it turned out good either way. I used strip spruce for the outline of the walls while using brick for the wall itself. After creating a square structure, I decided it needed more, so I added a second taller building attached to the first. To add some detail, I included red concrete at the lowest part of the wall. I made the floor out of oak planks to keep the palette simple, put a door in, and finished the walls, adding windows as I went. Then, to finish off the build, I put together a roof made of just dark oak before mixing in some jungle. Next, I wanted to build a little shop. I decided to use crimson wood for this one, due to the lack of it in Colorful Realms. This was also the first build in this project to be on an angle, though definitely not the last, which made it significantly harder. But I took my time and figured it out as I went. I ended up using both logs and planks to add more detail, as well as using nether brick being a similar color for the roof. I made sure to add some windows before detailing the inside. The floor was a purple carpet to match the sort of purple-red walls, and I made sure to include some tables, chests, bookshelves, and more to really bring the place to life. Afterwards, I went back and included some Christmas lights to both builds, something I use a lot during this video. After finishing these first 2 builds, I decided I wanted to clear the grass in the middle of the area and replace it with snow. I did this so that I could get more work done on the main portion of the project, being the centerpiece. It didn't take long to remove the grass and replace it with snow, though it was very tedious. So once all the snow was in, I started to work on putting up some market stalls that were selling random things, each with their own Christmas-themed roof cover. I tried to make them all different shapes and sizes to give it an interesting look, and to keep it from looking too simple, of course. I added a pile of crates off to the side, as if someone had delivered more knickknacks for the stall to sell. And to finish it off, I made a winding path through the snow connecting all the stalls, leaving space for a gigantic... I don't really have much to say about building a tree because, well, what would I say? It's a tree. So I'll just let you all enjoy this time lapse and give my voice a bit of a break. After building up the tree and adding all the leaves and snow, I decided to start decorating it. Why? Because it's a Christmas tree, obviously. I put lanterns and ore blocks hanging from the tree, and added some glass to look like lights. I also added pickles. Once I finished the main decorations, it was time for the topper. I wanted the tree to have a star on top, so I made one. I used glowstone so it would actually glow, and used glass panes and end rods to add a sort of sparkly effect around it. Now that the tree had been finished, I wanted to move back to building some shops and houses. I decided to start with another shop made out of mostly spruce logs with a few dark oak stairs and blocks. This shop has a lot of windows, allowing lots of light to enter. This shop I imagine would be more of a goods store, selling books and other useful items. I went ahead and built another building, being the second on an angle. At this point, I had yet again gotten bored of making buildings, so I moved back to the center to build some presents around the Christmas tree. I tried to make them all different shapes and sizes, using many different colors of wool to add detail and make each one special. And I did that all before moving back to buildings, though I had one other idea first. I'm not exactly sure what to call this. An ice rink? A frozen pond? Whatever. I put some ice down and used packed ice for texture, and added a fence along the outside. Then, I included some giant candy canes of various heights and angles around as decor before adding some cute penguins to finish it off. This meant we were now halfway around the outer circle, and much more than halfway finished. After that, I finally went back to building houses, making a blue one using warped wood, and adding a white roof using quartz to make it pop. After putting that in, I also went ahead and built the final building, being an orange house. This one was much smaller than the blue one, but ended up looking pretty good by the end, after including some final details on both. Not too much to say other than that, so I'll let you watch and see what they look like. And to finish off this build, I added a small forest on the edge of town, including a few sapling trees and a few custom trees, which I think turned out fairly well. But that's it. It's done. Let me head down to tour you around the completed village. So here we are. We've got everything done. I can't believe it. And actually it didn't take nearly as long as I thought it was going to. So I've kind of made this little forest, I guess. A few sapling trees and a few custom trees, most of the custom trees being at the front here. Being that from in the middle of the town, you're not really going to see these ones in the back, so I wasn't too worried about them being just sapling trees. And it's always good to get a bit of a mix in. We've got some little bushes here. I've added some sea pickles, some melons, and just some leaves. Lots of snow, obviously. And then we kind of make our way into the town square. I've set up a lot of different stands selling who knows what, with obviously our giant Christmas tree and a whole bunch of presents underneath it. I'm actually really happy with how this tree turned out. I normally have quite a difficult time with spruce trees, pine trees, whatever you want to call them. And I think that definitely I can do better than this, especially after doing some of these smaller ones over here. I think that some of these smaller ones actually look a little better than this giant Christmas tree, but I think it's progress. I think it's definitely better than what I've done in the past, which is a great start, and we can always continue working on it. And I really think that the star works really well as a topper, and I like that I added the end rods and the glass panes. I think having the end rods adds just a little bit of difference because they're a little bit brighter and easier to see than the glass panes from the ground. And then obviously we have all our different buildings around here, a few of which have interiors, a few of which do not, but either way, I think that it looks really good. So I guess we'll start over here actually, because we also have this little ice skating rink with a few penguins kind of skating around and just hanging out, as well as a few candy canes kind of around, a few different heights and things, some on an angle, and I think this space turned out really well. This was kind of the point where I was kind of deciding, like, I don't think I just want to do buildings, other than the center, obviously. I wanted to add a few other things, and I think it turned out really well. Obviously we have this sort of blue, warped and prismarine style building, kind of with the quartz roof. Honestly, I don't use quartz normally, just because it's so difficult to get in survival, but I do like how it looks with the blue. I think it works really well. And as you can see, these lights here, we actually use these on most of the buildings. I think that one doesn't have any, but most of them have at least a few. So, yeah, I think that one looks really good. Obviously, like I said, we got the town center, lots of gifts, the tree, you know. We've got this smaller kind of orange building, which also doesn't have any lights on it, or which doesn't have any lights on it, I guess, because that one did. Just because I had already kind of used, like, just like the dark oak wood, I'd used spruce, I've used crimson, and then we also did the warped wood, so I needed to find something of a different color, and I didn't really want to use any of the, like, plain brown ones again, so I decided to go with acacia. We were able to mix in a little bit of birch as well, which we hadn't used yet, which is great. We have our dark oak one, first one that we have with an interior, so we'll go ahead and head inside. This, I imagine, is sort of a little shop for antiques and different little things. Obviously, we've got our shelves above us with some flowers and sea pickles and different things on them. We've got an armor stand over here, a few bookshelves, and just some cute decorations. Lots of lights in here, as you can see, as well. And so I think this one's probably my favorite. I think the shaping on it's really good. I think this orange one next to it's also pretty good. I think generally just these two were kind of when I was most inspired to work on the project. And then we move on to these two. These were the first two I built. Obviously, I think they are probably the worst of the builds around here, but I still think that they turned out fairly well. We got a few lights. I used some nether bricks for the roof, which I think actually accent both the dark oak and the crimson fairly well. And this one is also another little shop, though this one's obviously a lot smaller and probably doesn't sell nearly as much as the one next to it does. Obviously with the chimneys on the top of a few of these buildings, because, I mean, it's cold, it's winter, you know, gotta stay warm. I think it still looks pretty good. We've got this one here, which is the first one that I kind of had, actually I think the only one that's actually on an angle, or has any part on an angle, so this was definitely a little bit of a struggle to build, but I think generally it looks pretty good, and I think the roof worked out really well. And that's about it. I mean, unless we want to talk about the path, but I mean, it's a bit of a gradient. It's pretty simple. First thing we did, obviously. So, well, probably seen it enough by this point. So, yeah, that's about it. So I guess all I have to say now is thank you all for watching. I hope you did enjoy. Thank you for joining me for this Christmas special. I hope that you all have a Merry Christmas, or whatever you and your family celebrate, whether it be Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, any of that sort, or anything at all, really, because I'm sure there's quite a few different celebrations during this season that I've never heard of. But either way, I hope you all have a happy holidays, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye, everyone!